So it's really one of those things where part of me wants to say that's a great place to stop it. That's a great place to stop a story. Part of me wants to say no, it's not done.
That's just the thing we need to understand. If I remember correctly, you did state that the game was going to be over if we ever got, alleviated the big problem in the city, the princedom thing, right?
That was the initial hook that drove the entire world. But the biggest thing to realize that it's something you all have come into. But this story is not about any single NPC sandbox character I put in. The story is about your characters and what they do with the world around them and what they do with each other. This story is driven by David Green, by Byron Rand, by Marcus Paulson, and by Joseph Cheung, not by the Prince of New York City.
Well, then, and I'm still in the same boat as pretty much Sean here. We're at that. We're at the natural stopping point for the conflict between Marcus and Joseph before it, picks up again for that really or what's probably going to end up one of them dying. But just like Sean, I want to. It's a good place to stop. On the other hand, I'm like, no, we have to finish it.
Yeah, from my point of view, I would really like to at least see how the coterie turns out. For instance, we can get these cops go through that and get them as ghouls. I mean, who knows? Since Joseph was doing one of them, and well, who knows what's going to happen with that? But I'll pose it to you. That's minor compared to. Do you want to role play out what happens between Joseph and Marcus? So I guess the question is mainly for you, because the rest of it we can just put in epilogue, really, I guess.
See, the big things I still see bearing interaction are for David, the quote-unquote Nick Tuku situation, what's happening with the apparent anarch power plays on Long Island. A year from now, Vsevolod Cerveni, the continued work on reestablishing security in our domain, and the current instability of our coterie.
I have a question for you, though, Aaron. How many of those could be resolved during an epilogue?
Some.
Quite a few of them. Almost all of them.
But not all of them.
The big thing for me is just I feel this is like a natural step. I mean, we have a prince. This is sort of a natural place to stop. But if everyone wants to...
A part of that is it's a really natural place to stop for Joseph and Marcus. It's a really natural point for their story to just start to really make a turn in a different direction. But with David and Byron, their stories are just sort of like halfway through something.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, the stuff that happened with Byron, what happens with this dispatcher is almost moot if the coterie kind of falls apart. I mean, he'll still try to go for it because he's planning to stay in the area, but I mean,
it's ultimately, I mean, any sort of situation that you guys want to do involving ghouling law enforcement, especially guys that are in your own domain, is easy and is easily swept under the bridge. But we focus on the details of those whole sort of interactions because that's part of the story. We could easily gloss over those moments, like how we easily gloss over the fact how you all are supposed to have this sort of sensual, intimate moment every time you feed, because I don't want to spend a bunch of time going through that every time you assholes feed.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, with Byron, I don't think it would be that hard for me to sum up in an epilogue. I mean, there are things that would be interesting to role play out, but it's not required.
Well, the thing is, there's always something, with characters like these, there's always something more that's interesting about them. There's always another incident, there's always another thing, especially with vampires or immortal. I mean, until Gehenna hits and everyone dies, there's always another action. But with like the overarching story, it's just, I guess Byron doesn't have like a major story he's in the middle of right now. It's mostly David's the story.
The
Well,
evil
yeah,
thing under the evil thing.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, I just have to go back to Byron's whole motivation for coming to New York, which was to make your mark on New York City. And this was a blood bond-driven command, essentially, from his sire back 9 months ago. And I think to some extent, he's only been in town 9 months and a few days, and he has certainly made his mark on New York. I mean, he's... So for him, I mean, his story, we'll see. I mean, the coterie falls apart. That kind of, it could mitigate that a little bit. But for him, I mean, and also, we didn't get to the next day, but as soon as the dusk sets, or however you want to put it, the sun sets, he no longer has a blood bond with Sevalot either. It's been exactly 3 months since he drank that blood point.
No. To go over that more for Byron, I mean, he's come to New York City with little familiarity with the Camarilla, and little familiarity with New York City itself, and the sort of like awkward sort of a state that he was in after being dominated pretty much by his sire for so long. He's, despite, you know, his inadequacies, he has made a name for himself. He is one of the older kindred here in the city in regards to, you know, him being around for so long, who has achieved some degree of power and respect, enough that, you know, he's the target for some envy and jealousy. Even if he were to say, even if Astoria were to say, take a hit, Byron has enough power and tools at his disposal that wouldn't be the end of him. Over the past 24 sessions, the coterie has been taxed both by outside forces and by interior forces, and they're still alive in a situation where, you know, most kindred don't even join up into coteries because they're too selfish and greedy. But the four-player characters have been able to sacrifice so much to get an objective done. And for that, Byron certainly has the credit and the status, and he's lost his, you know, a flaw. He certainly has, you know, recognition now, which is more than he had when he first arrived.
Exactly. And like I said, he's been in town less than a year, so I call that a win for sure. So yeah, I mean, I'll leave it up to. I mean, I don't know how Aaron feels about it, but for me, it's entirely up to Sean and Jordan whether they want to role play out or leave it as it is.
I'm role-playing it out would definitely be really fun because it apparently Joseph and Marcus think in completely different ways.
Oh yeah,
which is hilarious. So it's like seeing two people who think, two crazy people who are crazy in completely different ways fighting each other. That would be hilarious and fun. But I honestly think you could probably just do that in an epilogue.
Yeah, their story really is. The funny thing is, I think having gone up there and done that sort of abated any need for Joseph to want to do anything to him anymore. There's the one thing he planned, the one thing he wanted to do is, if the girl wasn't going to come back for like years, to see if he'd accept payment as Marcus. That was it. That was his plan front to back.
But once you got told that plan would never work.
For two reasons. One, because, I mean, it's a month. I mean, okay, so she's in hell for a month. Yeah, that's bad. That's not going to make him like Marcus. But it's not she's going to be gone for years or decades. So it's a failure on his part, but it's a failure he can rectify. and its failure he'll have time to rectify. So he sort of like, and he wouldn't accept you anyways. It's done. So a lot of with that going up there, I think a lot of the driving force between their conflict is sort of gone.
Because Marcus is not going to antagonize Joseph about it.
Yeah, Marcus doesn't care. Marcus doesn't have a conflict. It's strange to say, but Marcus doesn't really have a conflict
Marcus has an average
there.
conscience, good sir. 2 is average.
I said I meant to say conflict. He doesn't have he doesn't have a stake in the conflict.
I heard conscience, my bad.
Yeah, I think I said that because I laughed halfway through. But he doesn't really have a conflict with Joseph. He doesn't have anything that makes him hate Joseph, where Joseph had something that made him hate Marcus. And that is really gone. I mean, it's strange when you think about, but the whole, okay, he eats them. Okay. If he knew he ate them, whatever. I mean, he's got to eat. Everyone eats someone. Whatever. So that really swept a lot of that anger under the rug.
There probably going to still be some bad blood between Joseph and Marcus, but...
Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to be friends again. But, I don't think they're going to really want to kill each other either.
I mean, and eventually Joseph may say, hey, Marcus, can you do this for me? And Marcus will probably be like, sure, Joseph. I mean, it's probably be a few months down the line, but that's the game.
That's why the four of you united together as a coterie in the first place. Your characters, despite their differences, you all saw advantages in the power group. And that power group has certainly kept the four of you alive, in a sense.
I can agree with that. So I think me and Sean are fine with the game ending here and just having an epilogue next week.
My preference would be for it not to end, but I can understand if that's the group's choice.
If it didn't end, what would you want to do next session, Aaron?
There is a lot of stuff to do regarding the Nikituku, quote-unquote.
But then...
The epilogue would not just be what I want to do. In a situation like, say, if we don't have a session next week, we just have an epilogue, what I would task you all to do, and I'll bring this up now for, even if we continue with the game, for whatever we do wrap this up. For this entire week, what your guys' homework would be to think about your characters and how they've changed from session 21 to session 24. And I'd want you all to think about the highlights of this session as well as the lowlights. This is a hobby for us. We have our real lives, which, whether we like it or not, intrude upon what we do. And so, while you may think this was a good or a great or an excellent or the best campaign you've ever played, there were still moments in a game where you're like, what? Where it lost you, or, you know, where I did a poor job, or where you thought the other characters did a poor job, you know. It would be great for you all to come up with the strengths and weaknesses, like good moments that you thought that each other did as well as poor moments, and that goes for me as well. Furthermore, I'd want you all to spend the time to come up with whatever questions you had. Because with the ending of the campaign, with the ending of the story, it would be your opportunity to ask me whatever question you had about it. You would not have the discovery of the moment, the sort of like this, you know, the suspension of having it the story slowly revealed to you, but you would actually be able to get answers to your questions. Unless you want me to keep them secret. If you don't ask, I won't tell you.
Alright.
Alright, well, my preference would be for, in I guess, game terms, for this to be the end of the story and the start of story number 2. But
how about this? How about we, in the next session, we just fast forwarded it like 2 weeks or something, and you can have kind of a filler, kind of a, it wouldn't even be an epilogue. I don't know what you call it. Whatever's between a prologue, well, I guess it's a story. But you can have fill in what happened in the 2 weeks. Like Joseph and Marcus can, they can have their thing. And yeah, it's just a log, exactly. And then that would give David enough time to maybe fast forward through setting up his warehouse and maybe tracking down the Niktuku. Same thing kind of with Byron. He can have the alarm system and all that set up in his place. And maybe we could tie up the loose ends then. I don't know. What do you think about that?
well, it's not so much tracking as conflicting with. I mean, you guys don't know all this stuff out of character, but there's actually a clear and present threat that David wants to move against politically.
This is the thing I have with, continuing the story. It's just like, okay, we continue it for whatever. And then other things just pop up and other things just pop up.
That's also my concern, because I kind of have an inkling what you're talking about. There's some sort of Nosferatu politics going on, right? Is that what you're referring to, Aaron?
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need details, but that's kind of what I was getting out of character. I don't know how long that would take to sum up. I mean, that's exactly what Jordan's saying, I think. It's just like, I don't know if that's a 1 or even 3 session thing to sort out. So
Neither do I. This could start a war for all I know.
And if it does, we don't have to be the ones to play it out.
Yeah, if it does devolve into a war, it's that sort of war is something that's really epilogue material. If it doesn't, though, if it's hunting it down, I mean, it is a bit short place to put the story. It is a little early cutoff for David's story, but it's sort of like the main thing is it's everyone else's story is just sort of done right now, so it would just be all David's story. I mean, could devote a large chunk of the epilogue to finishing up that story with David, or anything like that. I don't know how Grimith wants to run that, but it's David's stories right there, but everyone else is done.
That's pretty much the gist of it.
Like I said, I get it if everyone else wants to have this be the end.
Chaotic Idealism asks, why not a private session with David? It could happen.
Things could be arranged.
Well, we've done it before.
Repeatedly.
It's a thing.
yeah, I mean, part of the problem, I think, is that David was gone for, what was it, like 10 sessions? I mean, so you did get an arc with Jermaine, but
Right.
you didn't get, yeah.
David was gone, I think, from the start of chapter 4 to I think like chapter 10, whenever he woke from torpor. There was a significant chunk of the story that you guys had that, was replaced because David was trapped in torpor, and Aaron got to play around with a backup character instead, who did some things of his own.
Yeah, that's like more than a third of it.
There's 24 sessions. There was about 4 sessions.
Was it, I thought
Six.
Jermaine was around long, yeah,
Six,
that makes sense.
4. It was about a fourth of the game, give or take.
Right. Well, I mean, I figure that those 6 sessions probably would have been enough for David to get to the bottom of the Niktuku. I mean, it's just, you had to hit a pause on David is what I'm saying. Maybe. I mean, I don't know when it would have come up in Grimith's story. I don't know if there was a time to
It probably would have come up about here. It's to do with really recent developments.
Got it.
So the whole thing with David going to Torpor, he might have had some more closure with his character, but he would not have, ended this Nick Tuku story. Or whatever else he's working on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's see here. Yeah, Jermaine Wallace arrived in Chapter 5, and David Green woke up in Chapter 10. He played a major impact on the game for having such a short window throughout the entire sessions, and that's because, you take a look at your momentous impacts, throughout the entire thing, and Jermaine had a highlight in those early parts.
A lot of highlights.
We probably should not have hired him.
In hindsight, it was a horrible idea.
In hindsight, we should have just waited a month.
In hindsight, you should have just hidden for a month.
In hindsight, Joseph says he still should have been a hermit.
Yeah, in hindsight, Joseph is probably saying, why the fuck did I grab up all of that territory just because it was there?
Yeah, that's actually in my notes. I've got a set of notes of everything I was thinking about, like important thoughts on the characters, and on Joseph's, it is, why the fuck is he not a hermit?
Now, I'll save it for the epilogue, but I was going to ask, it's like, who is actually happy with how things turned out at the end? But don't answer it. You can answer that later.
I mean, out of character, you know that I like seeing characters suffer.
Oh, no. I meant in character. Like, is Byron happy? Is David happy? I mean,
the only person who could ever make a case for being genuinely happy is Marcus.
Marcus Paulson, the happiest vampire in the city. Everything just came up Paulson.
I think Byron is second, and then David and Joseph are just straight up tied. Straight up tied for last.
Joseph, I think, would have barely edged you out at the bottom just because his was a pile of failures until that last scene. That literally that last scene is the only reason he can't say he has to be able to be claimed the last spot.
But no, I think by a majority vote ends up being there. This will take an end of the story outright.
Looks that way.
Yeah, I'm a little on the fence, but I mean, I don't know where I would go with Byron next session, so I have to say
it's the same thing. It's the same thing with me and Marcus.
Got two ends, one continue, and a neutral.
It's like I would like to keep playing, but I don't know what I would do with Marcus. Just be like, he goes to PS1, he goes to Elysium, nothing's happening. Okay, he goes to party. I mean, I don't know what Joseph might find something to do, but it might be a little bit. It's just I don't know what to do after this bit.
Yeah, it's just sort of the arcs close, and it's like you can compare that to real life. I mean, you have things you deal with, they're dealt with, and then you move on. And it's all the things that we had, Joseph and Marcus had to deal with that thing with, like, trying to play ass grab and kill each other. It's done.
Sean, do you have something rubbing up against your mic by any chance?
Oh, sorry, my hair fell on it.
Oh.
I mean, there's also like real life. Sometimes there's things there's issues that come up that you can never resolve. You never get to. It just happens sometimes.
I think it's great that you guys all want to continue to play with your characters, and I can't get away with saving this for another week. You all have done an amazing job, especially as these sessions have continued to progress, particularly within the last 4 here, of getting yourselves so deep in your characters that I've been able to just sit back and want you guys completely command all this stuff yourselves. As a storyteller, one of the biggest rewards I have is seeing the player characters get so involved with the environment around them that they're really taking the freedom provided by a sandbox type environment through all the vagueness and through all the generalities allowed by the White Wolf system. No matter, how shaky anyone may have been at the start, rusty or unsure or unfamiliar with this style of character playing, all four of you took command, and all four of you played major parts throughout the entirety of this campaign. And we had this last sort of, commanding and demanding internal, character-driven intra-coterie conflict, which really allowed Marcus, who perhaps had been the least sort of depicted character, given the fact that he was just a bon vivant and perhaps not that interesting on the outside, allowed him to express a lot of how he felt as a character and allowed him to develop through the Ghost. It has been a great pleasure for me to see you all, and I certainly have no problems with the fact of you guys wanting to continue. There's so many things in life that we want to continue with. It just comes to the situation like, we could want to continue this forever.
We could do one thing, finish this thing, all of a sudden something else will come up. Well, we gotta keep playing because it's not done.
Because with how I've designed the city and how I've wanted New York City to be, it's totally evolved so that, I've spent so much time making sure that it has a life of its own. And there are so many other story arcs that go on with this too. Okay, we have a new prince, Carter Vanderweyden. He's a Malkavian. What the fuck are the Ventrue talking about? Why the hell are they so smug about this situation? What are the Anarchs going to do about this? Are the Sabbat actually going to try to take a crack at New York City after Theo Bell leaves? Because you better believe he's fucking leaving. How long will Carter Vanderweyden last in power? All these other sorts of major threads, and then you have all these minor threads to go along with that too.
I'm sorry, I'm giggling at Carter Vader.
Carter Vader.
I mean, we could end up in a situation where we are without a prince again in just a few days' time.
But that's the thing, it just basically... Like Grimith said, we could continue playing this forever. It's
second verse, same as the first. Carter Vanderweyden has been killed. Your objective is to survive the city again.
Well, I mean, for what? 10 minutes there, we had a prince in the form of, Kadir?
I wouldn't call him prince.
This is what Marcus would be like, we lost the prince again, Sabbat are invading, or the Anarchs, something like that. I'm out.
You know what? We're switching this to a California campaign.
I'm with Joseph on this one. We're out. I'm out. Then you get the wild adventures of Marcus and Joseph in the California Free State.
Are they going together, or did this both end up and they're both in the same bar? Like, damn it, you came out here too.
I mean, that's
all right. Everyone, group call. We got to spend at least 1/3 of all of our nights in group in phone conversations.
But yeah, I mean, going forward, Byron would definitely be trying to chum up with as many Ventrue as he could. I mean, Valentine, and my cat's laying on the paper. Oh, Gabrielle is her name. Try to make up with Gavin and all that and figure out WTF is going on with all these, because he knows that there's some sort of plan behind the scenes. He's not in a place to ask about it.
Jazz asks, so this is to all of the characters, what was your favorite demon monsters the DM cooked up? This including really evil vampires and the like.
The ones we killed. Because they're
Sevalot Cerveni.
Well, yeah, there's Sevalot. He's that voice. That voice.
My favorite, it's not a monster, but my favorite character in the whole game was Kadir. If you just mean a monster, definitely Frosty the Snowfucker was top of the list.
But yeah,
Matt.
Kadir was a...
I have to say Matt when he had his Shadowrun phase. That lasted all the day.
It's a null sweat.
But no, I actually think Frosty the Snowman. That thing was, it was a fucking monster to actually go up against.
Thank you for reminding me, Joseph. I mean, Sean, I have to write that down as one of my questions. What the fuck happened to Marcus?
That's right. It's going to be your opportunity to ask.
And I probably wouldn't have remembered until now.
Because in addition to all those major hooks, there are all sorts of minor hooks. You know, at the start, I put these things in, and then you guys just started writing the hooks yourselves. Like, okay. We went from investigating a little warehouse district in Steinway and being concerned about Fratelli organized crime pushing in Astoria to... Fucking hell, what the hell did Vsevolod Cerveni do to me, and how the hell did I survive the snowman?
All the way up to a little ghost girl. We finally decided to say, no, we're not getting involved in city politics for a while.
Soothsayer asks, what did happen to Leslie Cutter? Perhaps it's a question the player characters can ask. You know, there's all sorts of things they could pose. I'm having this be something that's open to them only. As a matter of fact, I'd say don't even stream whenever we get together next week.
I won't stream it if you ask me to.
Nah, it's something private that's meant to be for us. Really, this entire thing is just meant for us, but it's but a convenience, you know, out of the kindness of our hearts that we give for others.
So throw your questions out real fast now so that we know to ask them.
That's right. Grimith's best voice amongst all of the myriad ones that appeared in the story, guys.
Cephalod. Because he had so many voices.
That dude at the dumb one.
Blockhead. Yeah.
Blockhead.
Yeah, that 0 to 60, dumb to creepy / threatening. That was pretty awesome. You don't ask my name or whatever it was.
That was in Chapter 2.
Chapter 2, and he's still making waves.
I hope you all enjoyed the campaign out there, everyone.
I'm gonna have nightmares for weeks now. I have to ask, Sean.
Yeah?
Does Joseph know the difference? Does Joseph know of the Shadowlands?
I was playing him as no because the thing that he's got is it's all filtered through sort of Protestant
It's all filtered
beliefs.
through religion.
Yeah, so it's all filtered through that. So he thinks like, okay, you got this right, but I know that this is wrong because it disagrees with the Bible here, etc., etc.
Okay, so you just assume the Shadowlands are hell or purgatory or something like that. Okay.
So Shadow. Yeah, the short is the Shadowruns is the Pit of Fire in Revelations. That's what I was going off of, basically.
Yes, the Shadowruns.
But yeah, that's... God damn it.
Someone's been playing a little bit too much Shadowrun.
No sweat, Chummer.
I still have to get that game.
It's sitting there on my desktop, taunting me.
I won't say anything about it. That's not the venue.
Different game, different setting. Moving on. But yeah, just to give you a comment right now, Grimith, I had a really great time. Every single session, although there's some sessions I liked more than others, every single session I had a great time. And I kind of have you to thank for that, being the storyteller, GM, DM, whatever the hell you want to call yourself.
It's perfectly fine for sessions to be better than others. It's sort of how you can't have high tension in every single thing that happens or you do. I see that little car moving around. you can't have high tension. Like, say with like a concert or a story, there are going to be ebbs and flows. Some points that you like more than others, some points that stick out more than others. If we kept running on adrenaline the entire time, and we've done that for most of the fucking campaign, you guys would be wiped.
Yeah, there's after some games, I've actually felt physically drained because I've been a bit on edge.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's definitely.
I have to say I'm a really twitchy individual to begin with, but the scene, that last scene with Marcus and Joseph actually set me like shaking, like hard to press the key shaking, because what the fuck's gonna happen?
How'd you guys feel when we were fighting Sevalot's monsters? The snowman and the tentacle beast.
Well, the tentacle beast, I was okay with it because Marcus ran away like two turns in. I was like, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I liked it. The only thing I didn't like is that I can't figure out how to get my darn conniver thing to work to get my willpower back. But no big deal. That's my issue. The tentacle monster is cool.
I would say, as the storyteller, the snowman had made far more of a personal impact because it had been stalking you for so long, and it didn't show up at Elysium where you had lots of people to help you. It was at Joseph's church. It had knocked Rain unconscious. It had caused havoc. It was a more personal battle for you all, because it had been built up for longer than just, oh, surprise, tentacle monster. What?
Hadn't it been like stalking us since session 1?
Yeah, or at least something that has very similar powers.
Yeah, there's definitely a mist.
That token had existed since Chapter 1. It was one of the few tokens I had made right from the beginning along with Leslie Cutter. You know,
yeah, that makes sense because when you brought the snowman out, you're like, somehow there's a freak snowstorm.
like fog and all this stuff. It just set up alarm bells. I'm like, this reminds me of something. And I still don't know what's going up there in that warehouse, the Muncie Hudson expedited shipping. That's a question. I'm going to write that down.
Dragon fucking Metro. Every single session I have it in my notes to, if get a chance, check it out. Have someone to come with you and check the place out. It never happens.
Yeah, that would have to be a thing for story 2 or nothing at all. I mean, it's not the purview of this thing, I think. So there are many loose ends.
I mean, we say perhaps next week you guys can actually see the Dragon Metro Cab Company map in its entirety.
You mean you have a map?
This map has existed since you guys first visited it, back when Jermaine was still in the party.
Back when someone set off the alarms.
Yeah, back when someone else still took a gun.
Oh, Krypsyn.
Especially, and that was after teleporting in.
yeah, I just didn't see. I didn't see the door. I thought it was like it doesn't matter. I misunderstood the map entirely.
Jazz, I think that Grimith got a lot of his tokens. He took the White Wolf setting for New York City and took a lot of tokens that already existed for them. Well, a lot of characters, anyways.
See, the characters, yes. The tokens, only the major guys I could find tokens for. Theo Bells, of course, there's so much White Wolf source material on Theo Bell. Kadir Asmai, I found like a picture for him. But for everyone else, I'm taking a look at here. The only other person I think I used an official White Wolf image for, in terms of like who they were as a character, was Archbishop Francisco Domingo de Polonia. Everyone else, I just pulled up random images from the internet.
I've actually found a White Wolf picture of Prince Calibros if you want to see what it looks like.
No, I'm good.
He looks a lot worse than what you had.
Fine. Let's see here. Going through questions. We all had a great time. It's like hanging out with friends every Saturday or interesting acquaintances. What? Jazz asks, what was the most disfortunate chapter? I don't know.
For Joseph, all of them.
For David, when he ended up selling his soul to keep alive.
For Marcus, the one time, then to that session where he got captured by Frosty the Snowfucker.
Probably for Byron, although it was the funniest. Probably the one when he tried to awe Kadir. Yeah, just the reaction and just, I mean, it was perfect. Everything was perfect. Just how it just dumbfounded everyone else in the coterie as well. They were just like, what the fuck were you thinking? So it was like the worst moment. It was like the dumbest thing I think Byron ever did, but it was still kind of funny.
Yeah. Metal Slime Hunt asks, Aaron, any comments on the scene where Germain didn't bring Sevalot immortal? I thought that was the most terrifying scene of the entire story.
Nope.
There you go, no comments. Speaks for itself. But yeah, Jets, I just pulled everything from the internet. I have a knack of being able to use an image search. I punch in what I want, and as it turns out, I can get a wide variety of things. You can also use other sort of like image bases. DeviantArt, I use quite a bit of that. It taught me that vampires can come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. So be careful if you do use something like DeviantArt.
And unless you really have to, leave safe search on.
It can help protect you, yes.
For those not in the know, he's probably talking about butt stuff.
There was also a lot of My Little Pony vampires, which were definitely things. All of them.
I'm also assuming some of the other vampires you saw were Twilight vampires.
Don't even speak of those.
You mean pixies?
No.
But they sparkle. Okay. They're so pretty.
So that's a thing. Never take safe search off of DeviantArt. Pretty sure it's a violation of the Geneva Convention. It's definitely a thing. Chat, this is pretty much your epilogue, although you're free to post questions, and of course in all the YouTube comments as well, and even whenever I inevitably upload the epilogue for this as well. This is pretty much your chance to ask me whatever questions see fit, while Jordan is still courteous and kind enough, and you can also ask questions of the players as well. I'll answer some of them, others will have to keep banked up for the players ask me things.
Come on, guys. You guys gotta have questions. There's 23 of you here. I know 5 of them are us in the game, but
Dude, I understand that the story just sort of ends on an interesting note. Like, what? That's it? We're done? But that you could make an argument that the best stories end like that. The ones that you go, wait, what? No, keep going! Sort of like how the end of, say, the first Lord of the Rings, where, you were like, let's hunt some orcs, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna fucking kill some orcs! Then we're done. What the fuck, Tolkien?
You always
or the end
leave
of The
them wanting
Sopranos.
more.
There you go.
And then
fucking James Gandolfini is just fucking sitting there at the table.
the thing about Tolkien is that you immediately start the Two Towers, not focusing on what you ended the Fellowship of the Ring on. So it's like this big disconnect. You're like,
I want to hunt some orc. What?
doesn't look like they have that many questions.
It can be frustrating, I know. But the players perhaps will end up running into their own concerns. For all of the questions they'll ask me, they'll realize, oh, that wasn't actually cool or significant at all like I anticipated it. It's like the illusion of magic, or the illusion of something that, say something like people like to, buy into the storylines of professional wrestling, even though they're scripted. It's just the sort of idea like, I want to have fun in believing that this is true no matter how absurd it is. The same goes with a story about a bunch of vampires.
Yeah, and as an example, I'll tell you, now, I mean, if it's asked, it's no problem, but I'm not sure I want to know what happens to Leslie Cutter. I'm fine with her. I mean, I like her being an enigma. You know, she's gone. She's doing her own thing.
She's gone. Like
Very
capital
possible.
G gone.
She could be, but I mean, we never got confirmation. I mean, she's with Sevalod. She's probably not. She's probably not all right, but who knows? I just like not knowing.
Was there any plans on a power play by the Sabbat? Maybe. I mean, I can't.
If the Archbishop himself were in the city, Bologna, I would definitely say the answer to your question is yes, and cannot be anything other than yes. So much so that, well, you know, I'm answering it for you now.
I mean, we thwarted Sabbat moving in on our territory.
That's just our territory, and that's just a small number of Sabbats.
Yeah, that's just our territory.
What was Match's clan?
I think he was a Toreador, but that's just me.
Nosferatu.
Ravnos.
Ravnos.
Ravenos, Toreador, Malkavian, those all fit. I can't think of much else that fits really well. Malkavian's sort of out there, but Malkavian fits just about any idea with enough tweaking.
Match ended up being one of my greatest personal pleasures this campaign.
I mean, that one time when you got Match to come to Elysium, and you're just outside Elysium, and you just heard, "I got what you need." I was just like, "Oh my god, that's amazing."
I got what you need. You know, when I made this fucking image for him, you know, it's like some sort of suave, cool. Oh yeah, motherfuckers, I got it going on, and he just all spiraled out of there. There's just a bunch of me fucking ad-libbing from, you know, this initial concept. I told you guys a story of the I Got What You Need came from Plump Helmet Punk and how he liked to exaggerate for Earthbound, the sort of like the rocket dealer. I got what you need. So I figured, well, what if I just had this gunrunner guy play off that angle? So he's got what you need. So now he has that exaggerated voice. With his love machine deluxe. Fucking pulls up to Elysium.
He pulls up to a fucking Elysium in a goddamn semi-truck. Filled with guns. This guy is awesome. Why can't we make him Prince?
Because he's too smart, and that's something you have to realize as well. Smart people often don't want to be made Prince.
Yeah, you haven't answered their question, Grimith.
I
You
have
probably
not.
won't. You probably won't
But,
until the epilogue, will you?
So that'll have to be something I definitely say for next Saturday, if I even answer it then. Again, it'll have to be something the players ask. As for how did the various Prince candidates die, get killed? Well, Kadir got killed by Theo Bell. Directly, that happened whenever the whole coterie went down into beneath Central Park to retrieve the heart of Icthoru, which really ended up being a stone of experimentation by Sevalod Cerveni. There, Theo engaged a mutated, grotesque Sevalod in personal combat and killed the fuck out of him. So that explains that. Of course, you could say he might have died, in terms of like undead life, the moment that he followed the coterie down there to Sevalod Cerveni and got his mind fucked. Let's see, we have Helen Panhard, which I guess I'll give a little teaser for this one. You can turn off air conditioner. Helen Panhard died. But Helen Panhard was actually killed by Marlena,
Dun dun dun.
But how, Grimith? Well, if the players ask for that in the epilogue next week, I'll explain more about the hows and whys of that. Marlena, of course, fled the city. It wasn't a good situation. It was the right call. She had completely lost her support. She had tried in vain to do everything she could. She was completely committed to this. But, the rug was pulled out from under her, and she just said, fuck it, bye. Which is a smart thing to do, other than risk staying in the city and getting your ass killed. No,
Wasn't there Eugenio?
Eugenio Estevez. Well, we kind of know who killed him. The massive tentacle monstrosity that ended up breaking into Elysium and murdering a good other chunk of Tremere. Since the creature was pretty much designed by Vsevolod Cerveni, Vsevolod Cerveni is pretty much responsible for Eugenio Estevez's death.
I think the rest of us just sort of assumed that Helen Panhard was killed by, Vsevolod, but now we know.
I assumed he was killed by one of the other candidates. I just didn't know. I didn't know who. So
I
actually thought
Tremere.
It could have been Kadir if he was alive at that time, but yeah, it was either Tremere or Kadir, I guess, in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Did I make any abominations that weren't used? Nah.
If you made them, we were going to see them.
How did Vargas really die? Yes, that is certainly another valid question that Aaron in particular might have interest in.
I actually think it was just a heart attack.
It's entirely possible that he wasn't a ghoul.
Yeah,
and
out of character, that's what I think.
For my part...
Go ahead.
I was just saying, for my part, I'm leaving that up to Aaron. I'm fine with not knowing. He can ask it or not, whatever makes his story better.
Well, the story's over. It doesn't really matter about the epilogue. The epilogue is about us wrapping up loose ends.
Right, well, never mind. You know what I mean.
We'll have to find out next week.
There you go.
No. Other stuff like, for example, who really set fire to Byron Rand's Haven?
Yeah,
who got me evicted?
Was it the same person? Yeah, but these are questions I want to know.
Who tried to have Joseph's church bulldozed?
All legitimate questions.
Is there a way for David to get that stone out of his chest without destroying himself? To his knowledge, absolutely not. And to my design, no. It's committed to him.
And David has about 1 year to possibly, until he might tear it out.
Was Lombok Ruthen everywhere near York? Well, sure. Of course, he participated in the Battle of New York. Afterwards, he sort of scattered, and he's actually, how I envisioned it, outside the New York City metropolitan area, like in the Catskill Mountains somewhere, recovering from his great and horrific shock, because there is a significant reason why he suddenly fucking vanished off the goddamn map, leaving the Sabbat alone. And it wasn't just because he was a coward.
Though he was that.
Though he's definitely a coward, he's also a fourth-generation Methuselah, and as Marcus Paulson could testify to, as it turns out, Methuselahs are powerful.
Yeah, but he also regularly lets his cowardice cause him to get manipulated and abused by lower-generation vampires.
That's also true. Perhaps such as Archbishop Francisco Domingo de Polonius. Thus, there was definitely a reason why he fled. There was a big story, and a significant chunk of the starting shit is stuff that I pulled from White Wolf's material provided. The New York by Night book was such a major asset for me in initially sculpting the world. How did Ventrue die? Ventrue.
Yeah. I know this has nothing to do with this story, but this is something about Lombok Ruthen that I've read. He's been bullied like pretty much the entire time. He was actually bullied by a mortal into siring that mortal. Which is crazy. Then again, it's White Wolf, so whatever.
Yeah. As with everything White Wolf presents, it's always in that first-person narrative shit, so it could be completely untrue.
Yeah, and the rumor is that person is Dracula, but
Right.
whatever.
And then, of course, the whole Diablo-Rays and the Sire. The problem is, Lombok's Ruthen Sire is fucking Dracula, right? Not Dracula,
Yeah.
Zamitse.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing right now.
What is the Malkavian Prince's derangement? That's what I'll answer now. He actually suffers from fugue states, in which he will actually go into periods of time where he will act like a different person, or at least act differently than what he would normally would, and he can't remember a goddamn thing about it. He compensates for these deficiencies, but they're still a thing. It's a permanent part of him.
And I'm guessing that fugue state personality is what the Ventrue are so goddamn pleased about.
It would be.
Go ahead, Jordan.
I was gonna say it would be hilarious if his fugue state personality is a better statesman than him.
I mean, they're both similar in nature. They do have different attitudes, though, as was explained to me in a New York by Night book. That he was one of the characters that was crafted for the world, New York by Night. I just decided to throw him in New York because, well, it made sense. Regarding that, he just has fugues that he can't remember shit in. The condition which the Ventrue are pleased about is something I'll actually tell as well. Because that's not a crazy, oh my god. And it's something that's, I think I did a decent job of hinting at near the end. We just have a long period of build-up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't notice because my character really doesn't care about my character and myself over the course of the game really doesn't sort of give a shit about the Ventrue.
Yeah.
No offense.
The main thing is the fact that the Ventrue themselves, the greater Ventrue faction, aren't done with New York City. Carter Vanderweyden is going to have to with Jan Pieterzoon, who is the primary organizer behind the entire Battle of New York. He was the one who pulled the most strings, called in the biggest favors, organized Methuselah blood shit, along with the Tremere, did all sorts of other crazy things, and he's going to end up showing up on Carter Vanderweyden's door within like the next week after the session ends, and say, hey, you owe the Ventrue a boon. What?
Kinda does.
Yep. And, the argument, of course, ended up being, it's primarily thanks to the Ventrue that you're actually in the princedom, and, it's really easy to organize a smaller effort to oust a fledgling prince. Like yourself. So you owe me. You owe us. All of Ventrue. This greatly amuses Ventrue in the know.
Yep.
And if Byron hears about it, which I guess he will within a few days of this happening, I guess, he will be greatly amused as well.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, the Ventrue are pretty much the political machines that, they are the power and that they are the power players left in the city.
And the book presents this as a great way to carry on the story itself. With, it can set the stage for numerous numerous plot hooks where you're like, do you guys stay loyal to Carter Vanderweyden? You go to Pieterzoon and the Ventrue? You try to play the middle, stay neutral? Because you have that free boon, and it's a big fucking boon, floating around there, and that makes Kindred all sorts of crazy as hell.
It's the whole reason the jihad is fought over. It's fucking stupid, but whatever. Are the Tremere ever going to re-enter New York again, or what? Probably. I mean, they're still there, right?
Yeah, they never left. They're just, a lot of them got killed.
And a few of them are in torpor.
One of the changes that ended up coming is that Iceling Sturbridge has ended up coming back just within the past few in-game days, and has become, again, the High Regent of the Tremere. There was a massive amount of political drama involving the Tremere that no one really saw a whole lot of because none of them are Tremere and the Tremere are insular. But there was a reason why Sturbridge was gone, and now she's back.
Side note, one thing that David's actually going to be doing as soon as he feels like the Tremere are back on their feet is cashing in his boon with them for greater political favor within the city. Because he totally has a boon for saving their current regent like that.
And it is certainly so very interesting how quickly David Green's desires changed, where he actually cares about political favor within the city now, Aaron.
Because he suddenly feels like he can actually contribute meaningfully. As soon as he got a taste of it, he was like, wait a second, I can be the idealist on the inside. But yeah. Basically, this is the exact same politicking that he hated doing when he was working as an ADA, yet dove right into anyway.
And I, for one, am actually glad that the Iceling Sturbridge is back, because she seemed to be a bit more liberal for a Tremere, and that's saying something.
Iceling Sturbridge has a tendency to actually cooperate and make deals with members outside of the Tremere clan, which the Imp doesn't.
But the
So
Imp
by
and
liberal you mean not a constant raging dickbag?
Yeah. It's I mean, it's just unfortunate that we didn't have a Tremere in the party, so we didn't get to interact with them outside like the few times we did.
If you had a Tremere in the party, there would have been even more internal conflict and strife within the coterie.
Undoubtedly, with all the factions involved.
I mean, it was just like, we had two people, the Ventrue and the Toreador, who basically, their clans are so large that they can't really be insular, you know? And all that crap. Then you had the Malkavian, whose clan is not exactly unified, but also not exactly big. No offense, Sean, but that's just the way I see it.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, but why would I take offense to that?
Yeah.
You can't. The Malkavians aren't unified except on, like, you know, certain days when they go and destroy entire cities.
Or when they decide to do a flash mob for no reason.
Yeah, then that's
Same thing.
how they destroy the entire cities.
Yeah, and then it's just lucky that we had a Nosferatu in the party who gave us access to that subsection of, you know, politics that we would never have known about otherwise.
Yeah, I just wish we had a Tremere.
I mean, my second idea after the Toreador was a Tremere, but I decided to go with the Toreador guy, but...
It's
well
a
played.
Toreador that plays a lot like a Bruja.
I made mistakes. We all did.
A Toreador.
I mean, Go ahead.
Metal Slime Hunt just noted that he really liked the philosophical debate between Sevalon and David.
He was cool.
In retrospect, there was one thing that I wish David had petulantly said that he never did. The end.
Okay, you're saving that for the epilogue, or maybe never? I'm cool with both.
Oh.
If he wants to have his secrets, that's fine. Jazz asks, did any of you have backup deities as characters? Well, Jordan revealed his. Aaron definitely had backup ideas. Definitely.
Oh, I had
Yeah,
more
I had
than
another
one.
backup beyond Jermaine as well, in case David actually died and I needed a new vampire.
I had things I was going to ask for, which were going to probably be said no to.
Yeah.
I had one, and I said it as a joke. Oh gosh, I don't know how long ago, months ago. It actually grew on me. A petite girl MMA fighter Bruja. That's what I would go with.
I don't think you could do the voice.
My backup character was a Tremere who had a bit more of an interest in auspex and domination than thaumaturgy. Not that they wouldn't know any thaumaturgy, just that they would be a psychic par excellence.
After the fall of the Tremere in Manhattan, I was thinking there was some points where Joseph may have very well died, and I was thinking of asking for a free gargoyle that got free during the fall of the Tremere.
That's certainly possible. There are definitely gargoyles who escaped from Tremere clutches during that great battle. And there are also a few free gargoyles in the city already.
Yeah, and officially, the gargoyles are free anyway, even the ones that are under Tremere employ.
And they're also a part of the Camarilla. The free gargoyle bloodline asked to become a part of the Camarilla, much to the amusement of some, and much to the consternation of the Tremere.
But I mean, even the gargoyles that are owned by the Tremere are officially free members of the Camarilla. That's just utterly irrelevant because they're de facto slaves.
So yeah. My final thing I will entertain myself before I wrap up the recording, other than Metal Slime Hunt. If anyone stole all of Sevalod's precious metals, their wealth would be beyond the scope of this campaign. The old man was a member of the Nagaraja bloodline.
Knew it.
Nickname Flesh Eaters. Well, you had opinion, I think, last week that he was some sort of crazy fucking mage, Aaron. And I was like, what?
No, it was, I felt fairly certain that he was from some sort of subcontinental origin. Whether it was the Nagaraja, the Euthanatos, whatever.
Yep. As Soothsayers that definitely said, though, especially I think I made it clear for anyone who is familiar with these various bloodlines, the pointy sharp teeth and the need to consume mortal flesh.
Auspex dominated necromancy. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So if Joseph had actually tried anything to the necromancer, he would have found himself with a face full of mental fuck.
Why is all of this fuck in my face?
They ask that every single day.
I'm assuming the old man had telepathic mind hacks as well.
The old man was definitely powerful. The fucking power that he used to banish the little girl is a Necromancy 5 type of situation.
Shit, that guy's a bit powerful.
And that's just along the one of the paths, because, necromancy, like thaumaturgy, has so many fucking paths. And he summoned her, and then he fucking banished her into a hideous nightmare realm. That power is Torment, on page 162 of the core rulebook. And he did that after summoning her to him, which he could do. Yes. But yes, Nagaraja, installed there as a means by which a player character could obtain a reasonable resolution from a ghost spirit haunting it. And understandably, you can tell how much of a profit Match might make if he's selling this information for $2,000, and people are buying it for $2,000. It's a big fucking deal.
I wasn't gonna haggle. This guy could easily be like a Methuselah.
Well, and here's the thing. $2,000's pretty cheap to put you in contact with someone that definitely knows necromancy.
And we'll
Yep.
always know this guy. We'll always know where he is. And since he's a vampire, he'll always be there. Well, theoretically.
Hey, of course, the primary cost ends up being, you have to bring along a mortal you don't like, which, for some people can't pay that.
Nope, too easy for Marcus.
Unfortunately, can't give him kindred. Otherwise, it would have been easy for Joseph.
Because there's definitely a lot of kindred in this city that Joseph doesn't like.
Actually, I think the number of kindred he likes can be counted on, like, one hand.
Can be counted without hands.
Yeah.
Do you like Carter?
Vanderwayden? He took the princedom from the Anarchs.
But do you like Boss Callahan?
Well, okay. I'm not including the Staten Island because de facto he likes all of them automatically because they're Anarchs.
That's stupid. I mean, even if you like the Anarchs, Boss Callahan's a dick.
Boss Callahan is definitely a dick, and he definitely has his reasons for being a dick.
Well, he's a dick fighting for the right cause.
No, he's not. He's basically an autarch.
Grimith, I'm going to mention something. The picture you used for Boss Callahan, I don't know where you got it, but I was walking around my friendly local game shop, and there's a board game with his picture on it, and I'm like, what the fuck?
There we go, Tammany Hall, man.
Yep, that was the board game. I'm like, never thought I'd see that face again.
Fucking Boss Callahan.
About half of the Anarchs are idealists fighting for the right cause, and the other half are power-hungry autarchs who don't want to be beholden to the Camarilla.
We're getting into a political conversation now, but whatever.
It's perfectly fine. It's pertaining to the game.
It's
I'm just saying
politics.
that's something you've always got to be aware of when you're thinking about the Anarchs. Some of them are people fighting for democracy and fairness and shit like that, and they're awesome people. And the other half are power-hungry despots who just don't want any accountability to anyone higher up than them.
See,
True.
I'm just gonna say, I hear you explaining this to Sean. I don't hear you explaining this to Joseph.
I'm not gonna explain it to Joseph.
True. Here's Joseph's perspective. He is fighting for the right cause. Full stop.
Yeah, and when you're talking about some of those anarchs being autarchs that just want no accountability and want power, you just described Byron's cider, like in a nutshell.
You just described like most of the Camarilla.
Right, but I mean, she is an autarchist, and she's that's exactly why she is. She doesn't want to be even in the Camarilla because she's like, fuck you, fuck your rules, I'm doing it my way. And that's kind of how Callahan is as well.
Yeah, but you remove the autarchist condition, and that's pretty much the Camarilla. They're all just fighting for power to, and they don't want to be beholden to anyone else. The only reason that they are is because someone else beat them to the power.
Oh. Yeah, it's a Hobbesian thing. I mean, it's you have rules, you have laws, because sooner or later everyone's got to sleep, right? Even vampires, they just have different hours.
All right. That takes care of this session. As I told you guys, take the week to reflect upon your characters, reflect upon how they have changed, grown, or perhaps shrunk from Session 1 to Session 24. I want you all to think of criticism, both good and bad, for the campaign that we've played. Obviously, you all have been in, I suppose, to use a historical phrase, in the trenches with one another, so to speak. And so you all have seen each other grow and develop and change as you've responded to basically yourselves. I mean, again, you all wrote the story. I mean, you were the storytellers for it, and you definitely commandeered it more and more as time passed, and I am all cool with that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have allowed myself to be the storyteller if I wasn't okay with that. Take some time to think about, highlights for yourselves and lowlights. Not just for your characters, but for yourselves as players. it's important to keep that in mind so that in the future, should any of us ever engage in this hobby again, we can grow and develop as hobbyists. And, the questions that you have for me, and questions that you have for each other. Because, this is sort of like a graduation type of ceremony again, before the era of Facebook or whatever, where everyone's going their separate ways. It's going to be the last chance that you guys might have in a vocal format, unless you call each other on Skype, to talk about this with one another and group everyone together. This is, the big moment. So, you guys have invested so much time and so many hours into participating in this hobby. Think about what it means to you to have been a part of this campaign, and so on our final session together this upcoming week, we can contribute together for that. I will, of course, have the sort of epilogue to give you all basically a summary of what happens in the campaign world without prompting. And then the rest of the floor is open to your conversation, your comments, and your questions. And ultimately, it allows everyone to leave the campaign feeling that they got something worthwhile out of it. All right.
Sounds like a plan.
Makes sense to me.
Fantastic. Now get fucked.